Hello, Paul Madden at the Yacht Channel. Today I'm going to revisit a vessel conversion called the Ragnar here, which was done at Icon Shipyard in Holland, which is one of the great shipyards for new builds and especially for conversions. And this vessel, we've all been probably reading about it in the magazines over the last couple of years. It's a conversion of a commercial offshore supply vessel. In particular, this one is not just ice class, it's an actual icebreaker. And we'll get into the distinction of what that means. It's just a great conversion. It's a great example of what you can do with a commercial vessel in converting it to an expedition yacht at the highest quality level. And the reason that I'm circling back to look at it is that I think it deserves a review on a technical basis of how it was done. We're looking at the very glossy charter and sail video here. It's a lot of drama. But in any case, the decisions that they made on how to do the conversion and how the design was done, I think deserve more attention. And I felt that a lot of the material that did come out about it, they started getting into the whole luxury thing, and the spokesperson for the shipyard talked about sumptuous spa and sumptuous meals and this and that, and I don't think that's the point of the vessel. But and the other thing was they have this monstrous ATV called Big Bow that was built in Russia. And I looked into that a little bit, and we'll talk about that monstrosity a little bit as well. So let's dive right into Ragnar. The exterior and interior design was done by RWD, a British design firm, and the team leader was Charlie Baker, who's obviously very talented. So this is the original vessel. Was named Sananborg. It's an ice-breaking multi-purpose support and supply vessel built in the Netherlands in 2012. So she's a fairly recent hull. Now you got to understand the difference between icebreaker and ice class. Ice class means that the hull is reinforced up to a certain amount of ice, and the vessel should basically can push around little pieces of ice or very thin ice. An icebreaker is rated to go into serious ice, and it doesn't just push it aside. It rides up on top of it, and it uses the weight of the vessel to crack the ice and crunch it up. And then the propellers will actually chop up the ice further. And these propellers are so rugged that you can run, if you get in a jam, like an ice jam, you can hit reverse and back up, and these propellers will actually chop up the ice into chunks, and you can power around in reverse just using them like a huge blender to chop up the ice. And this vessel apparently was laid up in Holland, not far from the Icon shipyards. So it went into the shed in 2017. So the main thing that they needed to accomplish, first of all, they made the decision to keep the pilot house and keep the forward working part of the vessel intact, and that's a very big decision to make in doing a conversion, because you have to overcome the fact that it's starting with a profile that's not great in terms of compared to a beautiful yacht, and you've got to deal with that profile if you're going to keep the pilot house and keep all the existing works, which is a smart thing to do, because just moving it is very expensive, and you're not adding anything to the capabilities of the vessel. So so they made that decision at the outset, and then designed around that existing forward pilot house to make quite a good looking and meaningful profile on the vessel, and also to keep its seaworthiness and its ballast and weight proportions correct. So this sort of conversion, right away, you're going to need a certified helipad. In this case, it was for an EC-145 Eurocopter. And with that, if you're going to have endurance, you've got to have refueling for the helicopter and all the fire precautions. Another decision is to keep the deck heights the way they are, because if you're going to extend off the back of the existing pilot house, you're going to have to go with those deck heights. And that is a consideration when you're considering the vessel that you're going to convert, is make sure you've got decent deck heights so that you're not having to sort of change levels between the new section and the old section. So it had the twin Cat 3516 HD diesel engines, which are 2,000 kilowatts each. So you had plenty of power. And these pods are Wartsila electric pods. They're 1750 kilowatts each. And these are not just your regular sort of go across the med pods. These are designed to churn ice. And these pods will actually eat up the ice in case you get stuck in a situation where you got to back out. It has a maximum speed of 12 knots, which is just fine for global cruising, and a good range of 6,000 nautical miles. Aft of the main pilot house superstructure is where all your guest accommodations go. So the decks that are extended off of the main decks, the existing main deck structure, are for guest accommodations. But they managed to design in an owner's deck that has a forward-facing observation lounge and an open-air foredeck terrace, which is really cool. So this is right under the pilot house, and where guests and the owner can get out and really see what's going on. And I believe that's David Seal there, looking good. Hello, David. With these additional decks out over the bow area, you start to get into what looks a lot like an X-bow on an Ulstein design, which is interesting that they went in that direction. So I'm glad to see that they did not go to a yacht fairing and glossy finish. It has a commercial paint finish. They used an extra tough abrasion-resistant coating with some fairing on the upper decks, just to smooth out the original steel work. But this is very practical, and it means that you can repaint, the crew can repaint the vessel any place that they happen to be and need to do some touch-ups. So I'll put links below to these other videos so you can check out these other aspects of the boat, and I don't want to cover the same ground. Burgess did this very sexy James Bondish treatment of the vessel with a very pretty actress here, and so you can check that out and explore the sort of fantasy life that could be enjoyed on this vessel. The shipyard did this time lapse of the hulls and the decks being built. It's kind of cool, so you can check that out. There's a link down there for that. And the shipyard also did a walkthrough with David Seal as their spokesperson, and you'll find out how sumptuous the vessel could be. And you will also be introduced to Ragnar, the character from the Vikings TV series, who was apparently on this vessel. And the only other comment I have is about the big bow here that they have on board. This thing is quite a little monster. These things are made in Russia, and they look like they're just custom made to destroy nature. I don't really know what they have it on board for, but I hope they don't go and do any of the things that it's advertised to be able to do. Basically trample wild, unspoiled areas. But I'll leave that up to the owners and the charterers. And I hope that people will, here I found it on the garbage channel. Anyway, I hope that people will get in their kayaks and go cross-country skiing instead. But there you have it. So that's my review of Ragnar. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will pick up again with another subject soon. Please subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next edition.